What is going on, my petrol-powered dudes? I am back at Prestige Motorcycles, and today I'm going to be riding their R1S. This is a 2016 model, and in my channel I've been riding a whole lot of motorcycles that are leader bikes, but the Yamaha R1 was one bike that I was really looking forward to ride for a long time, and finally here it is. So we're going to talk specs, we're going to talk details on the road. So with that said, let's get going. Alright, first time I put a leg over a Yamaha R1. So you know what makes this bike seriously intimidating to ride? Oh man, this is going to be fun. You're automatically greeted by this color LCD screen. Back in 2016, they were doing it right. So currently I'm in power mode B, and we can switch it to A. Obviously that's going to be the fast mode. B is middle tier, and then you got C for rain. A little intimidated, you know why? Because this bike has the same seat height as a Yamaha R6. What makes this bike different than the Yamaha R6 is that the seat is wider, so it takes off at least an inch or two away from your inseam. So for you guys who are already intimidated by the R6's seat height being at 33.7, well, I don't have good news for you, because this bike is meant for even taller people. But regardless, I'm still riding it, so if I can do it, you can too. Alright, on the open road. Oh man, it's always an experience getting on the road with a brand new bike. Gotta adjust the mirrors, adjust to the seating position, the throttle, the acceleration, the horsepower, all that good stuff. But I'm in familiar territory because I'm coming off of a Yamaha R6. So I've been doing some research on the web about this motorcycle, and unfortunately the motorcycle does not come with a quick shifter. So back in 2016 this was an optional extra, but that doesn't really matter because there's a plethora of different choices out there if you want to add a third-party quick shifter into the mix. So you got plenty of options out there. For 1 minute I completely forgot that I'm not in GP shift. My R6 is in GP. So is my KTM. Man, the motor sounds good. I like that cross-plane crank engine. Bit quiet for me though. If this was mine, I would definitely change it and get an exhaust on this baby. I like that the dash tells you how much brake pressure you're using. That's pretty cool. Check that out. I gotta say, I am very, very surprised that the suspension on this motorcycle is as soft and compliant as it is. It's actually better than my Yamaha R6, although the components on this motorcycle are the exact same thing as my R6. This has a KYB front and rear. Oh yeah, this thing has definitely got some get up and go. Well, it's a leader bike, what do you expect? 200 horsepower and 82 point something foot-pounds of torque. Might as well just call it a million. Who cares? After 200 horsepower and 70-80 foot-pounds of torque, you're in stratospheric territory here. Way more than enough for any mere mortal, including myself. So the B mode that I'm currently in right now is absolutely perfect for the street because torque kicks in anywhere around 5,000-6,000 RPM, and then once you get past 8,000 RPM, that's when this thing takes off like a rocket ship. Not sure if this motorcycle has been tuned or not, but judging by the exhaust, I'm gonna say that it's fairly stock. So as far as road mannerisms are concerned, I would say that this motorcycle is fairly aggressive in its seating position. and it's very reminiscent of the Yamaha R6, my bike. When you're traveling at 40 to 60 miles an hour, unless you're seriously twisting the throttle and giving it wide open throttle, it's really no different than riding a Yamaha R6. But you will notice a major difference once you open it up and then hear the sound of the exhaust. Yeah, you get to hear it really well at 8,000 RPM. Overall, the seat is nice and wide on this bike, although a bit intimidating for the average short dude or dudette. But once again, if I can do it, so can you. And don't even think about flat-footing this bike. I don't even know if the guys that are 5'10" can flat-foot this thing. I don't really think that motorcycles are developed to be flat-footed to begin with. It's just something that you get used to. Oh man, it sounds so good. Damn. Woo! She sounds great. I can't wait to put this thing in A mode and see if we can give her the full beans to see what full power is like. Well, right now I think it's full power as well in B mode and C mode. It's just the throttle response is a little bit dumbed down. That's probably it. The clutch is pretty soft on this, making it very livable on the street. If you're a big fan of sport bikes, this motorcycle is not exactly your BMW S1000RR when it comes to comfort, but I wouldn't say it's uncomfortable either. You want uncomfortable, try a 959 Panigale. That is probably one of the most aggressive motorcycles that I've ever ridden, and I've ridden quite a lot of bikes in 2020. Despite 2020 being one of the worst years ever, it's been a pretty good year for me because I've been having a total blast riding all these wonderful motorcycles. So a big shout out to Prestige Motorcycles for allowing me and trusting me to ride their beautiful Yamaha R1, a motorcycle that I've been looking forward to riding for a very long time. Unfortunately, in this ride, I can't really take it that far because it's not my bike, and I'm only limited to a few miles. I'm just grateful to be riding this bike, but I can tell you that after riding so many bikes this year on different terrains, on the track, on the street, on the twisties, I will mention that this bike does feel a bit heavy. Like, it's not as flickable as the Yamaha R6. The Yamaha R6 just feels light whenever you're doing what I'm doing right now. Like, it's easily tossable. But this motorcycle, being a liter bike and 440 pounds, it's not going to feel as light and as nimble as the Yamaha R6. We're in third gear right now at 8,000 RPM. But let's give it some beans and see what she does. Let's get into full tuck. Oh, wow. Wow. Well, not disappointed in the speed department, I'll tell you that. Sheesh. Holy macro. Damn, it sounds so good. Man, I love that sound. That cross-plane crank sound. So one thing I'm discovering about this motorcycle is that the throttle on this motorcycle is so smooth. Compared to when I first got my R6, the 2020 model, the throttle was snatchy and it wasn't smooth at all. It was kind of like on and off. But this reminds me of my current R6 with the tune that I put in there. It's very, very smoothed out. I'm very curious at this point to find out if this motorcycle has a tune or not, because it's very smooth. And now I think it's time that we talk a little bit about power. Switch it over to A mode. See what this baby's got. All right, now we're in A mode. And I think throttle response, I can feel it already. It's been increased. Oh, wow. Bike feels pretty solid, pulls seriously hard, and boy is it a lot of fun. But I love that cross-plane crank sound. Damn, imagine this bike had an exhaust. Woo! I am still astonished that this motorcycle is as comfortable as it is to ride. And by comfort, I'm talking about the suspension settings. Someone somewhere has done two things to this motorcycle. Number one, they've adjusted the suspension to be dialed down for the street. How did they know that I was going to ride this bike with my stature and my weight? Somebody knew that I was coming. And the second thing is that they knew that I was going to be used to the torque curve and the smoothness of my ECU tune on the R6, so I think they did something to the R6. Now I'm gonna have to ask Nils. But if this motorcycle is as smooth as it is in a stock form, and you know what, I'm astonished, man, because this is wonderful. Why is the R6 so jumpy as it is completely stock, and this one isn't? So it's something to find out later on. So other things to mention about this motorcycle is that in 2016 they came out with a 6-axis inertial measurement unit, which is the IMU. It's basically for wheelie control, cornering control, cornering ABS, all that stuff. Yamaha was pretty much in tune with what riders wanted, because you got to remember these R1 bikes and the R6s are first and foremost track weapons, and so in a track day situation you need those kind of things. And you know, of course, all the other leader bikes like the Ducatis already have that stuff, so Yamaha had to stay competitive and introduce an IMU on this motorcycle, which is produced by Bosch, and it's not exactly in today's environment, it's not really groundbreaking, because the 6-axis inertial measurement units were first developed by Bosch, and then towards the beginning of the 2000s they were slowly introduced in MotoGP motorcycles, and then they slowly made their way onto street bikes such as this. So speaking of MotoGP, Valentino Rossi rides this exact motorcycle, except his is an R1M, obviously all spec'd out. It's not the same bike. What am I talking about? But you get me. It's a Yamaha R1, based out of a Yamaha R1, completely gutted and made to MotoGP specs with 300 horsepower. And I have a paltry 200 here for the street. But for a street bike, 200 is just seriously a lot of horsepower. But going back to what I was talking about before, the inertial measurement units first became available for the MotoGP motorcycles. And considering that in 2016 Yamaha put this on a Yamaha R1 that at that time only cost $14,999, is a lot of bike for the money. Let me tell you, this bike is a lot of bike for the money. Regardless, I think that if I had the money and the space, I would definitely buy one of these as well to keep in the stable. It's a fantastic bike. Alright, some closing thoughts before we get back to the dealership. First things first, I don't want to give the bike back. I think it's phenomenal. I think it handles beautifully. Ergonomically, I think this bike is fantastic as well. It reminds me very much of my R6. It's not very aggressive in the seating position, and the seat is very wide, and it allows a lot of room to go back in a tuck position. Like seriously, I am all the way back right now, and I'm about 5'6" tall, as you already know. So in case you're wondering, yes, you can get full tuck in case you're a bigger guy or a girl. It'd be very, very interesting to hop back on my R6 and see what the differences are in terms of power, in terms of handling, in terms of how it feels, flickability. acceleration, throttle response, all that stuff. Maybe I can put together some kind of comparison video. If you guys want something like that, let me know. Write down in the comment section. And while you're at it, my boys, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new to my channel, if you've never seen one of my videos before. So one thing that I want to point out before I forget is that the motorcycle does get warm. Right now I feel some heat coming on my left hand side. So it's a pretty warm bike. It kind of reminds me of the Panigale V4 and just overall Panigales in general. As you already know, the Panigales are pretty hot bikes, and I've actually tested them out for heat. If you haven't seen those heat videos for the Panigales, make sure to go check it out. But the heat on this kind of reminds me of that. If you guys experience the same thing with your R1s, write down in the comment section. I doubt the heat on this is going to be as bad as a Panigale, but worth pointing out. Well, here we are, back at Prestige Motorcycles. Now, this very motorcycle that I'm riding right now, ladies and gentlemen, is for sale. And I really can't check how many miles it has on the odometer, but from the website, it looked like it has somewhere north of 7,000. And in R1 miles, it's still a baby, to be honest with you. And this is a pretty virgin bike. It hasn't been messed with. Alright, this was wonderful. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me for another episode, and riding something that I've been looking forward to for a very long time has not been a disappointing experience for me. If I missed out on describing any of the details, write them down in the comment section, or if I messed something up, let me know what I messed up. But overall, a fantastic bike, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for a pre-owned R1 from 2016. Alright guys, I'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Ciao for now.